Today I'm going to show you how to make Flexi Easter egg keychains, so let's get cracking. To make things faster, we're going to start with a bit.ly. Please type bit.ly/HLEgg26 and press enter. This leads to a sweet egg template that I used for clicky fidgets. You can find the full tutorial right here. Of course, it's set to copy and tinker, so don't forget the golden rule of Tinkercad. Give a reaction before you copy and tinker. Now these are my parts for the clicky fidgets. You can find and complete that tutorial with this bit.ly right here. Of course, there's other notes throughout here, and then today we're going to use this fantastic Flexi Keychain part. If you've already got the previous egg part, you can of course use that, but it's such a slick technique, I'm going to show it again. We simply bring out the sketch tool. I'm going to drop it right in the 20 by 20 grid. Notice the center line lines up perfectly. I always recommend you check out sketch features, and there was a red dot, meaning that we've got something new that was added. Remember to always check this out and see the cool features that have been added. It has a ton of fantastic material. It is animated, and it is a great way for you to maximize your sketch skills. When you want to exit, click the X. If you prefer my tutorials, just check this bit.ly right up here for the full playlist. I want to make an egg that's about 40 by 30, so here's how I'm going to help myself. I'm going to make a guide by clicking on the center, and I'm going to move out 15. Click, hit escape to finish it. P to start another one, that's the pen mode, and I'm going 15 straight across. Note if you hold shift, it locks it straight. Click, hit escape to finish it. Now I'm going to go up 30, 10, 20, 30, P for pen, and I'm just going to make a diamond. Click, go down 10, click, click, and click. Straight lines, super simple. Double click to edit, double click again to make it look a little bit like an egg with the auto smooth. Now I can select both those points and tap the arrow keys to nudge it up until I get the egg shape I like. I ended up going 5 clicks. Now, of course, you can click up here. You can grab the handles and adjust this, but sometimes users do not like how it turns out. So right now I'm going to hit Control Z to bring that back. I'm going to show you that you can also nudge them with the arrow keys. If you want to change your egg shape, this is moving 1 millimeter at a time. Notice you can rotate it. You can just always go back. If you want to use a different nudge, you can switch it over here. I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to double click to finish that, and I'm going to delete my guides. Delete, delete, and when we hit finish sketch, I have got a fun egg that I can now build with. To make our fun design, we're going to use this part right here. This is called a bundle group. These are super sweet. If I double click to edit it, we've got a hole that is going to cut, and we've got a pin and a connector. Notice there's a hole inside so that the parts will actually flex. When I click outside, you can see the green bundle group. Because it's a bundle group, when it interacts or joins with another part, these cannot cut each other. It'll cut this, so it gives it space for that to flex, but it cannot cut out the part that's in the bundle. That's the feature that makes this all magical. So right here, this being 6.22, that means we can make our keychain something like 7. You could go down as low as 6.5. You could also redesign this so it went a little lower. I am going to cut my egg with the same sketch. Simply do Control D. I am going to make it a hole because it's going to cut. And let's hit edit that sketch. Now we can't cut the exact same shape. That would be silly. Instead, we're going to make curves. I'm going to do the same thing though with straight lines. I'm just going to click, and I'm going to make these curves super simple. Once I click my 2 points, I'm going to hit escape to finish them. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to click on this point, and I'm going to hit 2 to make a relatively smooth curve. Now I'm going to take this and adjust the stroke. I only want to cut a 1.2 area out, and I'm going to make sure that it's smooth, but with 2 points, that was super easy. Now I want to cut this egg 3 times. So I've got this piece, move that to where I want. I'm going to just do Control C and Control Shift V to paste the next one, and Control Shift V to paste the third one. That's going to be how I break it up. And when I hit Finish Sketch, we have got the holes that cut it into sections. I'm gonna make them a little bit taller because I'm gonna wanna cut the artwork as well. Let's quickly place our artwork. I'm gonna do Control D just in case I wanna use that again later. W for work plane, click on top of the shape, D for drop, and then I'm simply gonna do Shift select to align those two. L for align, click the egg, center, and center. Notice the artwork does not fit completely. I can actually click on my egg and make it grow, or I can make the artwork grow. I'm gonna choose to make the egg grow this time. I'm gonna do Alt-Shift, and I'm gonna just stretch until it gets so it's close to perfect. Of course, I do need to reset the height to 7. I'm gonna nudge this down. You can adjust your micro nudge as you want. I've got this close to the outside edge, which I think is fantastic. W for work plane, and I'm going to work with it from there. I'm gonna quickly add a keychain hole up here with the torus. Simply bring the torus out. I'm gonna set it right there. I do wanna rotate it so it's standing up. A little bit easier to do if I find the angle where I can see this better. If I stay inside, it's 22.5 degrees per turn. If I hold shift, it's 45 degrees per turn. I can now click the shape, make it a hole. I'm gonna keep the tube of 5. I like that for my keychains. I'm gonna bump up the sides. I'm gonna bump up the steps. Now I can grab these two, choose L for align, make the egg the boss, and I want it to be centered that way. And let's use the arrow keys to nudge it into place. Of course, that would cut all the way through, but that would wreck my artwork. If I come down halfway, check it out, I can get it right in the middle so that I'm gonna have a keychain hole that'll cut through nice and nifty. So now let's grab our keychain and do Control G to union group. Notice these are complex. It does take a moment, but there it is, snap, cut into sections with the cool hole in the front. To make this a little easier to see, I'm gonna hit T for transparent, and now it's time to place these parts. Control D. I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees. Once again, staying inside makes that pretty quick. And then the more we follow these curves, identical on both sides, the better. So I'm gonna choose to cut this right about here. Notice I have hit T for transparent so I can see inside. And I'm gonna choose to put that one right there. Control D, shift nudge to the other side, get it about as even as I want. And now I can shift select the two of them, do Control D, shift nudge it forward. This is where if you do flat view, top view, and fit view, it zooms in and gives you a better look of where it's at. I wanna make sure that pin is right there on the back side. And one more Control D, and nudge those up so they're on the other side as well. Notice I am double checking to make sure the pins don't run into each other. These are, so I'm gonna click and I'm gonna move over and back, or I can move them outside. I am gonna choose to move them inside, just like that. I'm gonna shut off transparency. Let's grab everything and do Control G to union group. You can see them inside doing their cuts. Notice it does take a moment, and then if you look underneath, bam, we are gonna be able to flex along that seam. It'll be connected on this side with the pins on the other side. How cool is that? Select it, export, and let's send it for 3D printing. I'm gonna print by layer height, so this will be freaky fast as well. I'm gonna save in my 3D modeling folder, and this is gonna be called Flexi Egg, and I'm gonna ditch the word template, and I'm gonna put a 7 after it, so remember that the paint is 7 millimeters up. Of course, now we can bounce to Bamboo Studio, create a brand new project. I'm gonna use my 0.2 standard settings. Let's add that file. Once again, it was called Flexi Egg 7. All right, so let's talk quickly about painting. I'm gonna make the top green, and I'm gonna use the awesome PLA matte for the bottom. Let me show you how to make this happen super quick. I'm gonna start by just doing change filament, and I'm gonna make everything green. So I'm making the whole thing bamboo green, and then I'm gonna switch to the paint tool, and because of that 7 millimeters that we took care of earlier, I can now switch to that cool matte rainbow PLA, click on the bottom, bang, It paints everything below and leaves the top ready to roll. Let's click Slice Plate. Ah, check this out. It wasn't going to do the artwork. You can double check right here if you have Detect Thin Wall and return and do Slice Plate. Bang! Now we get our awesome artwork. Cool rainbow matte down below and the green on top. Check it out, the whole thing, about 30 minutes. Print plate, and let's send it for 3D printing. All right, so while that's printing, once again, this tutorial also shows you how to take these designs and change them so they can print face down. I'm not going to re-show you those steps. You can go back here and relearn them. But what you can see here is I've got this green part, and I'm going to hide it for a second so you can see that I also cut it in. That's all I did, was do the exact same steps as here, except I cut in the hole, and that gave a place for the art. If I do show all, I can now grab these and I can rotate them so that I can print it face down. There is one setting I also had to adjust in the slicer. Let me show you that super quick. All right, so let me show you how we'll set that one up. Quickly back out to home, create a brand new project. We're gonna click Add. I export those two pieces separately. I've got one I call the art and the other I call the base. And then when I hit open, I say, yes, I want them a single object, multiple parts. Of course, the design comes in face down because that's how I had it in Tinkercad. And then I can move to objects. And the first thing I want to do is I want to fix the base. It's got some edges it doesn't like. So I'm going to just hit repair and let it do its work. Just some non-manifold edges, probably from my fancier curves on this design. And once that completes, this time I'm going to take the base and I'm going to make it a cool yellow, and I'll leave the image blue. Of course, I do want to go back to the global and make sure I still have the thin walls on so it can do that art. If we hit Slice Plate, notice it does mention that things are floating and it's going to be 35 minutes. We're going to fix the floating with the support option. Simply enable it. We only want it on the base plate. And then under Tree Auto, we're going to do Tree Slim. Once again, we go back to Slice Plate, and then check this out. It does these tiny strips underneath, so it's going to hold up those hinges as they print. How cool is that? Once again, 35 minutes, and we'll have a face-down Flexi Easter egg keychain. I will quickly highlight if we shut off supports. Another interesting thing to try, and I have not done this yet, is under Prepare, I'm going to click on that shape, and I am just going to rotate it 180 degrees. Now it's face up, and if I bounce to quality, I can go down. I can tell it I want it to iron the top surfaces. I'll just quickly give you a time estimate for that. 45 minutes. And of course, I have not tested it, but if you watch for my YouTube shorts, eventually I will. And here we are with that multicolor matte filament once again. Bamboo Labs P1S. And an awesome Flexi Easter egg. How cool is that? And of course, here we are not too much later. This is what they look like as a Flexi keychain when they were printed face down. Notice that's smooth. This is what it looks like when it's printed with it up above. These do print faster, but you got to decide if you like that texture or not. And then finally, this is the one that was face up with the ironing enabled. Every style pretty darn awesome. It's just up to you to pick which is your favorite. Wrapping up quickly, friends, of course, there's a lot to digest here. Make sure you take your time. There are several other videos, the SVG editing, also how to do different artwork. Check them out. Once you have all these skills, they are fantastic because you can take everything you design and you can sell it. Flexi items, clicky items, it's all yours. I'm just giving you the skill so you can do cool things with it. I do want to quickly say thank you to everybody that supports me via YouTube memberships. Don't forget there are 3 different levels of support starting as low as $5 a month. With any level of support, you get early access to videos. Also, make sure you pay attention for those members only post. A massive shout out as well to everybody that supports me via Patreon. Love how that group is growing. We're way past 400 members. It is a fantastic free messaging area where you can ask questions, post designs, gain skills. Of course, you can learn more with the bit.ly up above or the link in the description. Finally, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget, every time you like, hype, share a video, add a comment down below, or click subscribe, you're helping HLModTech get just a little bigger, which absolutely makes my day. Friends, have a glorious day, and keep tinkering.